Okay. We haven't done this in a while. So I am hoping that, let's see, how many people do we have straight up? I'll do my usual delay of gain here until we get some people on here. Please let me know how the audio and video is doing. Haven't done a live stream in a couple of, well, it's been quite a while actually. Took a break from the FT6 build because I was missing parts. So yeah, I almost forgot how to do all this stuff. So give me the thumbs up or what have you, and let me know if you can hear me okay. If I clap, you know, is everything synced up kind of thing. And yeah, I got my little beverage of choice. For some reason, I'm hooked on these things. I'm not a big soda drinker. There's always one person that says the levels are low, and then someone else comes up and says, oh my God, you're so loud. So what I will do, let me go to the microphone here. I'm still learning this thing. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Okay. Gain has been brought up a little bit more. So to those of you that said you couldn't hear me, you can hear me. To those of you that said I was just right, your ears are probably bleeding right now. I have to keep remembering to, my instinct is to look at the monitor because I have two of them. I get the big screen over here, which is blocked by the FT6. Then I have the laptop, and then the camera is over here. And we're still trying to fine tune the entire configuration, how that stuff all works. JDC, John Thompson, Brian, Aaron, hello, hello, hello. Yeah, so as I mentioned last time, yeah, I made some investments here based on the donations that you guys have thrown me for my little YouTube channel here. I got a lot of money, and not a lot of money. For me, it's a lot of money. Got about 50, 60 bucks there rather recently via Super Chat. So, you know, that came through YouTube about a month later. So we invested in the microphone and even got the nice pop filter, which so far the cats have not killed. Still having some disappointing results with the T7i. I invested in a cam link, which is how I offload the HDMI signal from the camera into the laptop. They advertised it as offering clean HDMI. No asterisks, no nothing. So I bought it. It was a $125 piece of equipment. And discovered that when I had it all set up, I was getting the kind of like the missile lock thing on my face here because the camera does the 45-point motion focusing, which is the reason I bought the camera. And so I reached out to Elgato support saying, hey, I'm using your card, but I'm still seeing the overlay like I would see on the back of my camera if I was taking a video or a picture. And they explained that, well, here's how to make that go away, but you can't make the focus thing go away because, well, that's part of the camera, and we can't do anything about that. And being someone who's very versed in technical writing, I write software manuals and stuff like this. I said, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. Your website says, big green check mark, that it works for the T7i Canon. And so I said, you need to fix that on your website. And ideally, you should be talking to me about a partial refund or something. So so that's the thing. You know, when you're a small YouTuber and you're trying to invest in your equipment and trying to get better quality video, and you believe a manufacturer says, yes, we can make this happen if you buy this part, and then it doesn't happen, well, I get frustrated. So anyway, okay, so wow, we got like 10 people on. Cool. I even have a couple notes here. Of course, this is the day that the new Star Wars trailer came out, and as you know, I'm a little bit of a Star Wars fan. Celebration is going on right now in Chicago, and I've never been to any of the Star Wars, you know, big Comicon events. They call it celebrations. Because of the cost and the expense. I mean, I think these guys are, I think the hotels down there are about 200 bucks a night or something. I mean, and then you figure if you're going to bring your robots, your R2-D2s, your BB-8, your costumes or whatever. So it's definitely a labor of love if you're attending one of those. And I've never quite made it there. But what I did do, I have it on the other monitor. If you haven't seen the trailer, it's out and about all over YouTube. You've probably seen it on the news. But it's quite good. Actually, I have Dun, dun, dun. If I hit play over here, I'll shut up and maybe you can hear it.
We fast on all we know. 1,000 generations live in you now. But this is your fight. Be with you. No one's ever really gone.
Wow. So there it is. Okay, so yeah, I know you guys want to talk about 3D printing, but let's talk about that trailer, okay? Couple things. Of course, the first thing I thought was, great, another robot I got to build. And the other thing, the big thing that jumped out at me was, of course, first you see her jumping over the TIE fighter, okay? And the next clip you saw, and it was very quick. It wasn't until I ran it back and forth a couple times because I'm a nerd like this, thus the title of the channel. You can see that he's putting the Kylo Ren helmet back together. So you could see he was putting all that stuff back together. The other thing that really grabbed my attention outside of another robot was Lando Calrissian flying the Millennium Falcon. So, I mean, why not? We're killing off main characters left and right. Why not bring in the B-roll, right? So that was interesting. And it took me a couple takes to figure out what the metal was that they were holding in the hand. At first, I thought it was the crescent, in the last movie where the girl has one half, her sister has the other, and died, what have you. Rose, I think, and then whatever her sister's name was. So, but that metal, it turns out, in Star Wars A New Hope, at the very end, when they were doing the throne room scene, those are the medals that Han and Luke received for, of course, rescuing the princess. So, clearly, Leia has had a yard sale, and anyone can buy Han and Luke's little stuff, apparently. So, no, but pretty cool. What's going on here, guys? I'm surrounded by cats suddenly. So anyway, there's the trailer. I'm sure I'll get flagged by YouTube for, airing it on the stream, but oh well. I mean, everyone's watching it, so there you go. According to my view here, 10 more people just saw it, so there you go. And somewhere here's a soda. So kind of looking forward to seeing how, of course, that movie's going to turn out. They had the live stream going on when they revealed it in the new robot at the celebration in Chicago this afternoon. So I was watching a little bit of that, and on one hand, I wonder how much this saga is kind of petering out, because I know a lot of people that didn't care for The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people have not seen Rogue One, and I know a fair amount of people that they were all about the negative press of Han Solo, which I think is a remarkably fun movie. So, if you haven't seen those, I think you're missing out. Rogue One and definitely Han Solo are excellent films. They're fun. I mean, they're really fun. And if you like Saving Private Ryan, basically Star Wars meets Private Ryan is Rogue One, in my opinion anyway. So, yes, Caleb, new microphone. Yeah, exactly. I guess I should do this here. I haven't done this in a while, but hello, and my name is Paul. And if you're not a regular on my channel, this is where Nerdy is Cool. This is where we talk about all things I find nerdy and cool. And largely, we do a lot of 3D printing, a lot of R2 building, putting BB-8 together. Last weekend, I was very busy with my Stormtrooper suit and my R2. I got some pictures from that event that I will share with you guys as well, because I'm that kind of guy. I like sharing my adventures. And yeah, and of course, I'm going to talk about what's going on with the FT6. It's a big, large printer, and as you can see, it's still waiting for, oh, hi, how are you? Apparently, the camera has moved a little bit. So there we go. Molly, you are like totally in the way tonight. This is what happens. I come downstairs, and the cats awaken and follow me down. Hey, shoo. Anyway, okay, yeah, so yeah, new microphone. So FT6, let's talk about the FT6 real quick. So the FT6 has been a little bit of a frustration. As you can see, I've got a lot of it together, and the carriage is all apart. You may not be able to see it. Let me slide that over a little bit here. Actually, further back is going to work out better. We're having electronic problems with the with this portion of the kit, and it's. I'm going to try to stay positive because it's just frustrating that when you're this far into a build or into a kit, you know, you're just hoping that things are going to work right. And one of the first things I ran into as I started to get the printer closer and closer to being together is when it was time to first power up. There are Ethernet jacks that are on top of the carriages, and they're using this as a means to get around doing a whole bunch of individual wires. So we can route some of the low amperage stuff across the Ethernet into the printer that way. And what I was noticing is that, well, first I saw lights on one connector, but I didn't see it on the other. So I thought, well, maybe something's up. And then it turned out that I noticed other things. I noticed that I was getting readings from the temperature on the carriage for the hot end. So I knew the hot end was 17 degrees Celsius, for example, and the bed was 17 degrees Celsius. Okay, that's good. But the other issue I was having with it was the fan wasn't running, so I couldn't figure out why the fan wasn't running. And on top of that carriage, there are spring-loaded connectors. So my first suspect was, great, you know, I don't like that design at all. I prefer that if you're going to have things that are attached to the top of a carriage, they're either, you know, screwed in terminals or either that or just soldered together. Using spring-loaded, you know, clips that are probably 4 cents each at the quantity that he buys them for just doesn't seem to me like it's a good idea. So long story short, going back and forth with John and trying to sort out the issues, it turns out that my PCB, the main PCB on one end seemed to be having issues, so he replaced that. And we noticed on the other end, when I took close-up photos at his request as we were trying to debug this, turns out several of the solders, or I'm sorry, one in particular, I guess, was not all the way in. It was a cold solder, I guess I'd call that. So I've had to go in there and resolder that, and it worked briefly, and then it stopped working again. So I kind of insisted. I said, I need a new one. I need a replacement, or I have to direct wire this. I can't be messing around with this at this early stage of the build. I can't have a printer that's not reliable, especially electrically. I mean, it's a big, giant printer. It's going to print big items that are going to go multiple days. If my carriage isn't getting reliable power from the get-go, we have an issue. So I am waiting for that new part to show up. But I'm trying to. There are other people that are in the Folgotech group that have been frustrated and aired it as well. But I've been trying to count to 10,000 and say, okay, well, you know, is it just me? Is it the design? What can we do here to make this better? So I offered. I said, look, you know. Here's the word I try to keep on using in my head. I don't want to use constructive criticism because the people that can make the improvements to the build in the build manual are going to get their defenses up, right? So I said, well, let's improve the customer experience, okay? If we want more people to buy this kit And if this many people are having issues with the instructions already, let's address a few things. So he said, all right, fine, take down some notes and let me know how we can improve. Okay, challenge accepted. So I want to say on Wednesday, I gave him a 4-page list naming specific areas of the manual that I felt needed to have elaboration, better than just, one picture and off you go. Now, I know there's a lot of engineering types out there that you can give an engineer 2 or 3 Polaroid pictures of something and they'll go to the CNC machine and make it and be accurate to a thousandth of an inch. And then there's the rest of us that take off our glasses, look, take off our glasses, look. So I just think that if you're going to make a printer that's going to appeal to the masses, you have to take that into consideration when you're constructing the manual. A lot of people have completed this printer and they're kind of scratching their heads saying, well, what do I do now? Because there's no setup guide. So you have this giant printer, you have touch screens in one configuration, you have dual extruders, you have a proximity switch, auto bed leveling, and you've offered the customer no idea how they get to the next steps. How do I calibrate this? Do you have a Cura profile? Do you have a simplified 3D profile? So I mentioned all these things and they've been very receptive. So I think that's very good and it's something that they are working on. And as I told them, I said, look, I'm willing to help. I do technical documentation. Again, like I said, I work with software. For years, I worked for a software company and I didn't know anything about maritime navigation software, but I'm the one that got to write the documentation on how to hook it up to your computer. So I made it for that kind of user. So, remember when you guys are taking speech class or doing English writing courses or stuff like that, they say know your audience. So you can't assume your audience has already built 5 or 6 3D printers and this is just going to be another easy peasy task for them. Most of your customers are probably going to be people that have CR10s or Ultimakers or what have you. They're attracted by the large volume of the printer. They're attracted by the price of the printer. And, if we make the instructions appealing, easy to use, and very well detailed, not only does that work well for sales, but it makes people happy. And then you get more people buying the printer. You get more people innovating. So we have more people making add-ons for this thing. And it's a win-win, not only for the company, but for the other users. There's a lot of talk about the BMG, Bondtech and the Slice Mosquito print heads. Super light, super powerful. Hey, on a big printer like this, I'd love to see that. But, let's get some people that know Slice and know BMG really well. And, hey, if they see an $800 printer that can print something ginormous, I'd love to tap into their brains. So that's where we are with the FT6. You guys are being like super quiet. Let me see. Oh, Kenneth just popped up. There we go. Oh God, yes. I have all kinds of pointers. Did you just, let's see. Are you setting, well, actually, a couple of things. If you haven't already, if you're not, well, actually, you said you're a new subscriber, so you've already made a good decision. I would look through my videos that I've put together so far. We've done the live stream build, and I think there's about 10 videos out there. We tried to make each video basically between an hour and 2 hours, and some nights we had a lot of caffeine and we went a little bit further. But that's okay. If you click on the little scroller and scroll back and forth as you need to, there's some tutorial information there. And Jake from State Farm, hello. Kenneth, something else I would mention too. I've mentioned it a couple of times in the FT6 build. Things that I would definitely invest in. I like Furwell connectors. That's something that I think is very handy, especially for the contacts on the MKS board. The other thing I would suggest, especially with the ACM, aluminum composite material, you have aluminum with plastic sandwiched in the middle there. It's very easy to over-tighten that. It's very easy also with a lot of the M3 screws where you're only kind of grasping the very edge of the material. So I would recommend either number 10 or number 6 washers, especially on the M3 and M4 screws, just so you don't dimple and pinch the material. Because, I mean, it's a beautiful white aluminum machine, and if you want it to look sharp and look nice, especially, you're going to make mistakes. So you're going to wind up having to, loosen screws up, move things around, and put things back. And if you don't have those washers there, you're definitely going to notice where, oh, God, I've clawed the hell out of it. So things like that. I'm getting shorter because my pump on my chair, I keep kicking it. Should I wait before I order one? Well, first of all, if you haven't noticed in the description already, there is a coupon code where I think I save you 5% off. So be sure you check that in the description so you can save a little bit of money. You're welcome. I mean, what's that? That's, let's see, if it's a $600, $700 printer, 5%. It's a hamburger and a couple beers anyway. Should I wait? I'm as frustrated as I am at my progress. I don't think it's a bad printer. Put it that way, okay? They are very responsive, and it depends on your I mean, I'm not an engineer. I entertain you guys very well trying to do this stuff. So what I would do, how about this? Let me make this suggestion, okay? Go to their product page and go to the Google Drive and read the documentation. And project, I'll get right back to that. Yeah, 3-week lead time. Yeah, because there's a lot to these kits. I would look through the documentation, and it's a Google Drive. It's like a 98-page. I mean, it goes very quickly, but definitely go through the manual, read through it, and see if it's for you. What I would ask is, have you ever built a kit before? Are you comfortable with kits? If you're very comfortable with kits, you probably won't have any trouble with this whatsoever. If this is your first time doing a 3D printer kit, this one might be a little bit of a challenge because there's a few steps along the way where you're going, what? But having said that, and you're looking at a 3-week lead time, he's been super responsive to all the feedback I've offered. He said he's going to implement all the suggestions that I made, so I think it's just going to get better. Oh. Yeah, furls can go both ways. Hello, Keith. Yeah, I mean, I put it this way. I mean, I haven't thrown in the towel on this printer. Like I said, I'm a little frustrated that he doesn't have a lot of the setup guidance that I need, and I'm looking forward. I think tomorrow, actually, the PCB should show up. And if that shows up tomorrow, I'm going to get that wired up, and I'll probably run a live stream, actually, come to think of it, just to kind of complete the build and work on the next steps. So there you go. But if you've built a Delta, this is going to be way easier than a Delta. Oh my God, the Geeetech. Well, the Geeetech, where do I start? Caleb, you kill me. The Geeetech was a frustrating printer that promised everything for $200, and mine showed up pretty much DOA. And when I complained on their Facebook support group that, hey, I have problems with my printer, I need help, half the response was, go away, what do you expect for $200? And the other half was, well, we might get back to you. So everyone's trying to sell you a Geeetech, and the minute you have problems with it, well, what did you expect? So it's like, ha, the joke is on you. And I still get those comments on my YouTube channel on the first look on the Geeetech A10. I get a lot of comments on there saying, what were you expecting for $200? Oh, I don't know, something that would work out of the box. Because all the issues we had with that Geeetech A10 when we unboxed it was, had they powered the thing on the assembly line just to make sure the power works, it would have been completely obvious that, hey, when you turn the knob to turn this thing off and on and go through steps, it's broken. But no one did that because they want to get them out the door as cheap as possible. And if you have issues, we're just going to ignore you forever. So yeah. Yeah, well, and they insisted that it wasn't DOA. And I'm sidetracked a little bit because someone had asked me about what I want to print on this thing. But while I'm ranting about Geeetech, it's interesting, and I'm still getting friend requests from Geeetech, and I'm like, sure, feel free. You're going to see a lot of 3D printing from other printers, R2-D2 pictures, and of course, my cats. But so be it. But yeah, that was frustrating. It wasn't until other people contacted them and said, yeah, he's having problems. He really does have a problem with the lead screw. He really does have a problem with the LCD controller. Then they took action. But when I mentioned issues, yeah, they just ignored me. How much trouble was it? Okay, well, first of all, someone had asked a while back there about what I'm going to print on the FT6. The FT6 essentially is going to allow me to do what two CR10s could do, okay, for the build volume. So my hope is that rather than running a bunch of CR10s, Tevo Tornadoes, the FTI3, whatever, you know, maybe I can give my power bill a little bit of a break here and on one printer, you know, do all. So this large bed, I can tell you already, is not level, okay? I'm not using springs. I have nylon spacers in there. And when I ran the print head up and down the carriage, I can already see, I can already hear rubbing on one part, not rubbing on another, rubbing on another part. So there is a gentleman named TK, I think it's TK Ward, and he offers, they make like these little aluminum I-beams, okay, that will go under the bed. And he also makes them for the FT5. He's active in the Fulgertech Facebook group. He's also, I think there's a CNC or I can't remember. He's at a couple of groups. You look him up, you'll find him. But he's offering a couple parts that will do a couple of things. These I-beams are aluminum, and they'll go in the front and the back, and it will level out the bed. And it also raises the bed up a little bit, so you're losing a little bit of Z. But if you're using a shorter print head, for example, like a Titan Aero, because right now, if you put a Titan Aero on this thing, it won't touch the bed. It's too high up in the air. So yeah, there's a few things like that. The other thing is so anyway, staying on topic here, Paul. Sorry, shiny lights. So yes, the goal of this printer is to print multiple of the big prints that I'm currently doing on multiple large-scale printers. Maybe give a break on the power bill a little bit. And then, quite frankly, it's huge and it's cool. So there you go. The problem with leveling this bed is, well, the first reason is we have auto bed leveling, okay? So where the hope is that with the auto bed leveling probe, you know, the Z is going to, you know, offset that, you know, through the auto bed leveling meshing. So, but it looks like we had noticed early on in the construction that the bed platform, when it showed up, rather than it being, you know, perfectly, you know, straight, it definitely had a little bow to it. And when the two pieces to go under it to straighten it out showed up, it did help, but wasn't quite 100%. So, but we're still early into it. Like I said, I've just only powered it on, and I really haven't done any real bed leveling, except to notice that just by peeking at it, I still have to do a Z offset and all that other stuff to set up the probe, but it looks like I definitely have my work cut out. Now the current one right now is someone had just mentioned, it caught my eye here. Keith Ward has mentioned FT6 is likely to be 32-bit and Maryland too soon, I believe. Yes, you're right. They are working with the smoothie boards, the 32-bit boards. I think last I heard he was talking about introducing those as upgrades or as options. I don't know when, but in a conversation I had with him, I don't know if I'm spilling the beans here or not, but he'd asked me, you know, had I heard of them and what did I think of them? I know there's a lot of conversations about duet Wi-Fi's. People like those. They're more money, but people really like those. The board that comes with the printer right now is like you see on pretty much everything, really, is the MKS. It's an 8-bit board. Very capable board, but of course, more and more things are going to 32-bit. The advantage of 32-bit, of course, is more powerful processor, more complicated things you can do in the firmware. And in the world of, for example, with Octoprint, where you're plugged in with a USB port, one of the things you run into with a lot of these printers, if you're printing with Octoprint over a USB connection, is that if you print faster than 50 millimeters a second, you could notice some defects showing up on your print as you print faster, because here's the way it works. That 8-bit board, okay, where that USB connector is, the input-output and the UART, the chip that handles all the communication back and forth, is only 8-bit. USB is throwing a lot of data at it, and this little I/O board is going as fast as it can to maintain the communications for the printer. And so if you go, you know, way fast, you know, some people claim that they print 100 millimeters a second with Octoprint. Okay, sure. So take a test print, do it at 40 millimeters a second, and then do it at 100. And I guarantee you're going to see some big differences in the surface quality, because you're probably winding up missing some steps. So I'm trying to find out. Quality's a big thing. Like the idea. Yeah, and how much trouble was a little bit? Yeah, I think I already answered that. Yeah, we're still working on leveling this big giant bed. Keith, you nailed it. Yeah, SKR 1.3, I think, is what he mentioned to me to take a look at. If I look at the website here, you asked a good question here. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. Let me get to the Fulgurtech website. I'm pretty sure you can get it for the single extruder too, but I could be wrong. Let's see. Nope, maybe you're right. Oh, by the way, see with the enhanced microphone, you can now hear my furnace. Yeah, so it looks like you're right. Yeah, if you're doing the single direct drive, or if you do the dual, you do get the level. And quite frankly, you know, this probe I don't know anything about. I just know it's green. I have a bunch. I think I have 3 BL touches, and I have 4 EZABLs of different sizes kicking around over here. So even if one is not included with the kit, I think, you know, I know the EZABL is pretty easy to get going. The only complication with that one is that the EZABL, well, actually you could hardwire it too, which would make your life a whole lot easier. I use the ones where the Z limit switch just plugs in, but Fulgurtech uses 4-wire limit switches, and everyone else uses 3. So sometimes you have to kind of mess around with the wiring there. But I wouldn't if it has, you know, I wouldn't worry about as far as the bed leveling, because there are other techs out there. Oh boy, there we go. So Caleb has the real sound now. Very good. So yeah, so that's the FT6 in a nutshell. So yeah, so don't be surprised if, like I said, if you're a subscriber to the channel, and I know you guys are, right? You guys, you know, you make sure you hit the button down there in the corner and become a subscriber and get notified. Hit the bell. And if you haven't already, give the video a thumbs up. But if that shows up tomorrow, I definitely plan on, you know, jumping onto the cameras here, and we'll do a live stream. And either you can witness success, or you can witness me muting my colorful metaphors where if I'm once again stymied. But we'll see what happens. And it's a 3-day weekend for me, because up here in New England, on Monday they celebrate, can't talk tonight, Patriots Day, which was, of course, the Revolutionary War. So I will be off that day because I am a state employee. So ha. So I'm probably going to do some more building. Speaking of that, well, I'm going through my notes of things I want to share with you here. Let me get, let's see, let me get Star Wars off my second monitor. Boy, I really can't see past the printer because it's so freaking huge. I want to share with you guys something kind of cool here. And let me just find out which screen this is going to pop up on here. I seem to have lost my mouse here from all the scrolling I'm doing. And here we go. Yeah. And I just have to drag this to the other monitor so you guys can see it. And okay, so thank you for bearing with me while I prepped all that. So last weekend was, I'm up here in Maine again, as I mentioned, was Bangor Comic and Toy Convention, affectionately known as BCTC. And the furnace just shut off, so there we go. I had my R2-D2 over there, and I was able to recruit some help to help me kind of guard R2-D2 from the errant fingers that want to tear my R2-D2 apart. And I got some great pictures. There were some interesting celebrities there. I will just show you the pictures here and see. Oh, that's my printer. That's not that. Ta-da! Here we go. And let me see if I can stretch this out a little bit more here, because you probably won't recognize anything outside of that bald guy and the robot. So this right here, dun, 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 is, do you have any clues? Probably not. This is Cooper Andrews' wife. And if you don't know who Cooper Andrews is, he is with The Walking Dead. And that is his beautiful, beautiful wife. Let me drag this over here to the other screen here. Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah, and she was a huge, huge fan of R2-D2 and came over several times to come hang out. And if you don't know who Cooper Andrews is from The Walking Dead, he is the Jerry character. Big Samoan guy there who wears the, looks like a catcher's protective armor. And he's also the dad in the Shazam movie that is now playing in theaters. And, man, this is just not going to open up in the right place for me, no matter what I try doing. All right, come on. Give me my little... Oh, I just love it when Windows does this. Come on. Let's go to next page. Come on. Oh... I just absolutely detest Windows when it comes to stuff like this. Ta-da! And there is myself and my R2-D2. And see, the minute I size this up, I lose my little scroller here. There we go. I wonder if it's going to... Here we go. Okay, so the arrows are going to work. So there I am, looking all nice and handsome in my Stormtrooper costume. And it's interesting. People often ask, you know, about the paint color on R2-D2. And in some pictures, it shows up really, really, really blue. In some pictures, it shows up very, very purplish, which is the kind of the goal of what I had. That Stormtrooper uniform I completely got by accident in a way. Guy was looking to build an R2 and wanted to have the lights made, and he makes this armor. It's called the ATA armor. And he said, hey, look, you want to do a trade? I said, well, I'm not really into the whole dress-up thing, but yeah, I'll check it out. And when the box showed up and I saw that helmet, the inner 10-year-old took over. The inner 10-year-old says, oh yeah, we're doing this. And this is my friend Jillian, and she's one of the many cosplayers that were there. Just a beautiful young lady. And just to show you that R2-D2, the girls just love R2. I mean, it was amazing to see all the girls and boys and gentlemen and ladies that came over wanting to have photos, you know, with R2. This young lady, oh my God, what a gorgeous young lady. She came over, and oh my God, I'm a big nerd. I love this. I love this. I want to get a picture with you. And, you know, the look on my face is I'm just the luckiest bastard in the world at the moment. But, yeah, she was impressive. She had a lot of really good questions. She had her daughter with her. Very, very polite young lady. And, yeah, no, had a great time chatting with her. This gentleman right here, his name is Colin Cantwell. And, again, you probably don't know the name by recognition. I did not. But he is the model maker. He designed and made the Death Star and the X-Wing fighter and TIE fighter. And he very quiet spoken and very, very kind man. Went over there a couple of times to chat with him about how they made the original models, how they made the Death Star, things like that. He loved R2, and being as detail-oriented as he was, he asked me, you know, if I could bring R2 up close for him to inspect. And he checked it out, and he had his hands all over R2. He was curious about this. It was like he was measuring it, you know. I thought, oh, boy, here we go. He's going to tell me all the spots I missed. But no, he said, sir, I don't know what you do for work, but you have built a masterpiece. And I was just like, holy cow. So that was fantastic. And this is my good friend Subhan, and he's helping me put together or get suited up in my Stormtrooper armor, because once you put the helmet on, you cannot see anything below your nose. So without his help, I probably wouldn't have bothered to put that suit on, because it definitely takes a little bit of assistance to get all buckled in. And this was from the Paranormal Research Group, okay? And you can see in the background, they have some of their equipment over there where they do all those, you know, you've seen the documentaries, you've seen the shows on the Travel Channel where they do EVPs and tape recordings and infrareds and what have you. What was interesting was the whole time I was there, this doll, and my mom has a doll collection that totally creeps me out. But this thing was just staring at me the whole freaking weekend. And the story behind this doll was they went to investigate a place that was very haunted, and this thing was thrown at them. Now, I'm not sure my first instinct would have been, okay, let's take it home, but they did. So this little creepy thing was across the way from me, just staring at me. So we wanted to get a picture just to see if we would see any, blobs of light or orbs or stuff like that. But as you can see, we came up clean. And one of the things, when you build an R2-D2 is it's awesome to see the kids. And to me, it's especially cute when the R2-D2 is bigger than the kids. But this was just one, I'm not usually one to take pictures of the kids with R2, but, this was so cute. I asked the parents, hey, is it okay if I snap a picture of, your kiddo with R2-D2, and I like to share it on my Facebook and with my YouTube? Oh, yeah, sure, no problem. So this is one of the ones. On the last day of the show on Sunday, which was a little bit of the slower of the 3 days we were there, the photographer took about 170 pictures. And that was during a short spell. And we were kind of wondering what would have happened if we were doing these photos on Friday and Saturday. It probably would have been, close to 1,000. There was a lot. And there, okay, so you see me, you see R2. There is Cooper Andrews. And there's his wife there right over his shoulder. And yeah, so that was definitely one of the highlights of the weekend. Very, very great guy to talk to. He used to be a sound man. He was a gaffer as well, and he was a boom operator. And when the opportunity came for him to be in front of the camera, he took it. And he has a great life story, and just a wonderful guy to get to talk to. And of course, one of my favorites is there's me and my dad. That's right. It's Paul, his dad, and R2-D2. Or as my father likes to say, his aluminum grandchild. So, there you go. So that was my 3 days of fun over there. Yeah, let me get my glasses here as I throw the camera back at myself. So I thought I'd share that with you guys. So, you'd have to look at his IMDb, but I know, because he was asking me how much I follow the show. He was also asking me if I'd seen Shazam yet. There were some other folks that were celebrities as well, too. They had Joy Fatone there, of course, from NSYNC. And I drove by a couple of times with R2-D2, and he avoided eye contact. I guess he just is not into Star Wars. I don't know. We had an after party on Saturday night, and the conditions of him attending were that the DJ had to promise not to play any NSYNC songs because, well, we wouldn't want to make him feel like he had to sing. It's like, I don't know whether to feel sorry for the guy or just more reason not to like their music. I don't know. But the girls were, of course, going crazy to go see him. And if you've been to a Comicon like this, and of course, I'm sure you guys have been to much bigger ones than what I attended. But for mine, there were a lot of the places where they were asking for $30 to $40 for an autograph or $40 for a picture and an autograph. And of course, there I am at the end of the line with R2-D2, and people kept on waving money at me saying, how much for a picture? And I was like, no, just get in there. Go ahead and take your picture. Because number one, I don't charge, and number two, if I did, I'm sure I would have a letter from Disney Legal about that thick saying, hi, never do that again. There you go. Stunt coordinator. Okay, well, there you go. So Caleb has done all the research for you guys. There you go. Nicely done. But who else was there? There were some other people there that were actors and actresses from the TV show Twin Peaks. I guess they had a reunion television show, I guess, a year or so ago. Kimmy Roberts, the blonde-haired girl, I guess she's been in The Last American Virgin and a bunch of other 80s movies. She came over a couple times, and she chatted with me quite a bit and loved R2-D2 and asked me to stop by in my Stormtrooper suit because she had some funny ideas for some video clips. So, okay, we did that. Honestly, I couldn't hear what she was saying because in the helmet, I have two blower fans running to keep the helmet from fogging up. So I just did what she said. The other two people there that were quite interesting was Mark Dodson, rather. He was the voice of the Gremlins. He's done some voiceover work with Star Wars as well. He's also the little rat character there. Oh God, Scythius something. The one that's eating C-3PO's eye there on the barge scene there in Return of the Jedi. Again, I'll let Caleb do the homework on this one for us. So he was a lot of fun. And then there was another guy. His name was Dickie Beers. And really, he was a stunt coordinator. And he had a lot of funny stories to share because he was hired to do stunts with Return of the Jedi. And he shared with us that when they were filming the Ewok battle in California, you know, of course, they had a hotel full of the, I guess you don't say midgets anymore, you say little people, okay? But he was saying that in the scenes where, you know, the Ewoks attack, you know, the Stormtroopers, you know, all these stuntmen are wearing this uniform, you know, the armor, and they can't move very well. And of course, when they say action, I mean, I guess they were wondering how angry these guys were because they got their asses kicked by these guys. So that was a lot of funny to hear some of the behind-the-scenes stories from the Return of the Jedi. He's also done a lot of stuff. He's done a couple of Bond films, so it was fun to chat with him. When I had the Stormtrooper suit on, he came over and we chatted quite a bit, and I took the helmet off so I could hear him. But he shared that, you know, the armor they had all sharp edges. He was checking out my armor because it's all been trimmed, so I don't have any sharp edges. But just walking around in that Stormtrooper armor for 3 hours, I just can't imagine, you know, these guys falling or doing, you know, the tricks they do or landing on mats and not breaking something. So quite the experience. They are so down to earth. Salicious Crumb. Thank you. Aaron, you're the smartest person of the night this evening. Thank you very much. So, and I only have 3 thumbs up. I'm just looking at the YouTube thing. There's only 3 thumbs up. I mean, come on, guys. I'm better than that, aren't I? So the FT6 I gave you the rundown on. The BCTC I told you all about. The CR10S. That is, do I have one here? I have just done the upgrade for where I have installed one of these guys. And this is called the Evolve. And I can tell you, David Petsel makes these amazing fan ducts for the CR10 and other printers. But unfortunately, he provides very, very poor directions. This seems to be the story of my life. I get some amazing stuff, but the directions completely blow. So no pun intended with this being a blower fan, but that was kind of funny. But so over on my other camera over here, you can see that I have it installed on the CR10S. The wiring is starting to come together. Now I'm dealing with the hard part of the firmware I've written. I went through, I'm using the unified firmware that E3D makes. So I've made some changes there. And we should be good to go. I just had to... unfortunately, with the Dual Z, when I lowered the bed, I lowered it too much, so one of the couplers lifted up. So I'm dealing with all that fun of trying to get the couplers synced back up. So essentially what's happened, you have the 2 couplers and the 2 Z screws, and this happens every now and then with some of these setups where sometimes you'll pop one of them, and trying to pop it back, even though the gantry is straight and level, you wind up having this separated coupler. And it's just... You know, ever have a night where you're tackling too many complicated things and then you get that one last Rubik's Cube thrown at you and you're just going, I got to quit for the night. So that's where I left it. So, but there's the firmware has been updated. I'm looking forward to getting that going. The next steps right now are I have to do all the setup stuff for the EZABL probe. Pretty much, I asked a lot of questions of TH3D with a unified firmware because this is the first time I'm dealing with an offset for the probe. There's also, we ran into this, and Keith hasn't been around for a while. I don't know what happened to Keith. I don't know if Keith died. I don't know if we insulted Keith somehow. He's such a smart, wonderful guy, so I hope he turns up again. Maybe he's taking a social media break. I don't know. But Keith, if you're out there, we miss you. But... we had encountered an issue where the 5015 fan wouldn't turn on, even though it was in the G code. And I think the newer versions of the firmware take care of that now. Oh, I got the cats on the prowl behind me here. So the CR10S, I'm hoping by tomorrow. So no more micro Swiss, no more Bowden tube. It's all direct drive. So that makes 3 printers that are now running E3D genuine Titan Aeros. I'm going to have, and actually I may do this tomorrow while it's fresh in my mind, what I just went through over here. Start installing that on the Tevo Tornado, which has been sitting in pieces waiting for me to do something with it. Hey, guys, what are you doing? You in the cat suit. All right, as long as she doesn't chew up wires, we're good. What are my thoughts on Cura 4 versus 3.3? Well, Cura has been a frustration to me because, you know, it's kind of like Chevy versus Ford. There are some people that Cura can do no wrong, or Simplify 3D can do no wrong, but there are certain things Simplify 3D can do so much better than Cura, okay? Support, that has been probably the biggest reason why people buy Simplify 3D has been the support. You can manually place it. It's very easy to move through those menus and tabs and set what you have to, whereas if you go through with Cura, oh, there's a furnace. The Cura menu system is just the absolute worst. And they keep on changing it around. So now with version 4, you got a great big giant view, okay. But boy, that real estate is really wasted as far as how you do things. If you have an Ultimaker, the beautiful thing is you just click on what model Ultimaker you have, the default settings, and off you go. But if you're trying to use Cura for anything else, it's a little bit tougher climb. So, I don't know. I have offered a lot of feedback on Cura, and I have largely been ignored. Here's the thing. Ultimaker owns Cura. Ultimaker sells printers. So if you're making suggestions to Ultimaker about some things that you would like to see in Cura, sometimes they say, well, that's a good idea. And then sometimes they say, well, we don't think there'd be a use for that on an Ultimaker, so they just gotta toss it. So that's the frustrating thing with it. So I haven't used 4 for any of my prints. I have downloaded it. I have used it a little bit, and I don't liked it. I don't like having to dig through their plugin menu or whatever they call it to use supports or to remove support. I do like the idea where they do have built-in profiles for certain filaments. I think ColorFab has some pre-configured settings in there, so there's some, you know, pro and con there. But anytime you alter the look and feel of something, you're gonna, I don't know. It's kind of like when a musician gets into politics. Bruce Springsteen or whoever, I don't care who you vote for. You're in the market to sell music. Why would you piss off half your market? So, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, people like your program. It's free. It can do a lot of things. And then you go and change the view on us, and it's like, why? The other thing, while I'm ranting, with Cura is that no matter what laptop or computer I run Cura on, it runs like a dog. On this laptop that's doing the video streaming right here, this is a brand new, this thing cost me $2,200, okay? This is a brand new 12-core Intel system with 32 gigs of RAM and a terabyte SSD hard drive, and it's got a Quadro video card. This thing is a peach of a brand new computer. And when you go to run Cura on this thing, it just loading. I mean, Simplify 3D, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, bam, I'm up and running. Yeah, I got ripped off. Okay, sure, whatever. Yeah, the ribbon with window. Yeah, exactly. Oh, sorry. I like this orange vanilla Coca-Cola. It's 0 sugar, which means it's probably some sort of nasty chemical in its place. But it's going to be yummy. So there. Oops, I'm tripping over something. So anyway, that's the goal. If the parts don't show up for the FT6, I'm definitely going to tune my CR10S. I know I have some work to do on the E-steps. And remember, what's interesting here is I'm using a pancake motor. I'm using the E3D lightweight motor. So I've done everything I can do to make that gantry as light as possible. I removed, actually, I have removed this. Remember this, the EZR extruder? This all came off the CR10, so there's less hanging up there now. I thought about putting this on the Geeetech, but at this point, the Geeetech is working very well, so why mess with good luck? Yes, Aaron. I was made aware of that. I can't remember his name, Hobel or something like that, but he has a plugin that will make it work just like it used to be. But that's the thing, you know. Why should we have a plugin to make the program work the way it used to? You know, here's a crazy idea. You know, and I'm just thinking out loud. I'm trying not to be a smartass, but you know, maybe have it set up so the user can set up how the program looks and operates. You know. Just kind of like what Windows does, you know. So I don't know. Kira kind of annoys me because they're very defensive when you point out issues. Here's a funny, and this is not me. This is a funny true story, okay? And all you have to do is go to their forums to see it. The next time they release a version or a beta, okay, if you go there to post an issue, 50-50 chance they'll say thank you. They'll check it out. And there's a 50-50 chance they're going to say, no, don't post that here. Go to our Jira ticketing system over here and go fill in a poll report. You know, how the hell do I do that? You know, so it's going to be 50-50 over there. So, yeah, so that's my thing. See, from my experience as doing programming and software dev and software writing, especially the documentation side, you like to give your end users, you want to give your customers as much flexibility to make it look and work the way they want it to look. Someone that does it very well is Adobe, okay? If you want to have everything docked or undocked or moved around multiple monitors, you know, or multiple screens, Adobe will let you do that. If that's how you want to work with Premiere, Photoshop, what have you, you have a lot of flexibility to make your workspace look any way you want. But people that kind of say, no, this is the way we like it. This is the way that we think everyone should be using this program. Yeah, that's not so good. I'm looking through my list of things I wanted to tell you guys about here. Dun, dun, dun. So I told you about the Tevo. Yeah, the Tevo. I have the Titan Aero. I have the power supply, the Meanwell power supply, and I have a new SSR. And I think the only thing I am missing is a 24-volt 50-15 fan. Which, if I wanted to, I could steal the one off the i3 Mega, because I'm not doing anything with that at the moment. But I do have another EZABL I can throw on that, or I could use the BL Touch if I wanted to. So that is next on the list. And finally, the last thing I had on my little cheat sheet here of, hey, let's chat about it, was, yes, as a matter of fact, the Geeetech A10. I did do some more work to that, and I was checking out the firmware. I was debating updating it. It's done a really, really good job as of lately with the prints I've been giving it. Now, the one thing I was noticing is I did a larger print, and it seems like it was, even though it's using its BL Touch knockoff, it was printing really close to the bed surface on the outside edges and perfect in the middle. So I don't know if that surface was bowed, if it had bad springs or whatever. So I pulled them all out. I put nylon spacers under there and put everything back together. And I had ordered one of those spring steel plates like Uncle Jesse was doing a review on. And I ordered one. And the one I ordered said, will work with the Geeetech A10. Yep, it will. But it's also about 10 centimeters too short. So it'll work, but it misses the top and the edge as well. So the gentleman that sells them said, oops, you know, if you want to, if you pay shipping, I'll ship you the correct one. So, but what's interesting is that the spring steel plate itself says this is the 300 by 350 version, but it's been very obviously cut down from that. So I don't know what to make of that. The hardest part about that is adhering the PEI surface to that. Yeah, that super plate does suck. Now, I'll show you this, and you'll probably chuckle, but this is what I use. And as a bald guy, it is an absolute thrill to walk into the store every now and then and go buy this stuff, and just look at the girl and wonder if she's gonna go. Yeah, my cats are being asshats. Yep, they are. Extra hole hairspray, okay? because this, do I have one here? This and this are the same things. This is polyvinyl alcohol. This has polyvinyl alcohol. You're going to find with glue stick, it's going to like to smear quite a bit. Now, a couple things. What I like to do is on that super plate, because it has a textured surface, I like to clean it with the rubbing alcohol. And sometimes what's happened to me is I've had several prints where I've printed too close to the surface. So, and you've probably run into this as well too if you're having trouble. It's very tough to clean that surface. So one thing you may want to consider, and I'm hoping you're in a warmer climate than I am, what you could do is you could unscrew it, and just be aware that there's springs and washers in there as you take those leveling screws out. I'd take it outside, and I would probably put the vinyl gloves on or something, and you could probably try scrubbing the hell out of it with like acetone. Okay, get like a microfiber cloth, ideally, and you could clean it that way. Let it air out and air dry, and then bring it back into the house, and then reattach everything back to the bed. Try to level it as best as you can. And if you're having problems with adhesion, like I said, the hairspray is a super cheap way of doing it. Be careful what you're shooting because, it's hairspray. So, if over time you're going to notice that if you've oversprayed, it's going to be everywhere. Wow, Caleb is just wanting to press every nerve on me today. Jake is absolutely right. Yeah, Jake is right about the potato gun. Yeah, we did use it as an accelerant for our potato guns, and if it's just to vouch for that, because we would not have been caught. But when we started using the Aquanet, we were putting out like a 16-foot long flame every time we'd fire that sucker off. So yeah, so I can vouch both that Aquanet is a excellent accelerant. And it is also very useful for 3D printing and adhesion. Actually, I use it extensively on the Ultimaker on the glass bed, and it works very, very well. I just want to make sure I got it over here too. Now, some other stuff that people have mentioned, I don't think, is Clyde in here? Because I know Clyde has had it. Magic Goo, I think it's called. There's a bunch of stuff you can buy aftermarket, but I mean, good grief. I mean, hairspray you can get anywhere local. Go to Walgreens or your big box store or whatever, and I think you'll find that works. And again, you don't have to go super heavy. I mean, just give it a misting, let it dry. Of course, if you have the bed set to 60 degrees Celsius, it won't take very long for that to dry. And after a couple of prints, okay, you're going to want to take that out. Either you can remove it. Or clean the hell out of that bed, either with Windex or what I do, especially with the Ultimaker, I just slide the glass out, bring it upstairs, hit it with the Palmolive or whatever I have, and scrub it clean. And it's clean when it makes that squeaky sound. So you could try that. No, I heat it up before. I'm sorry, I apply it before the bed's even heating up. It just happens to be the way I do it. Generally, my workflow with like my Ultimaker or any of these printers is quickly before I'll power on the printer, I'll inspect the bed. I'll make sure that depending on how you do your priming, I know a lot of guys do a line down the side. Make sure you clean that off. I know my Ultimaker just leaves a great big blob in the corner. But so make sure you get anything left over from the prior print off the bed. If it looks like it needs a little bit of a cleaning, that's why the rubbing alcohol comes in really handy. Give the alcohol a moment or two to evaporate, and then go ahead and get your print ready to go. Hit it with the hairspray, and by then it's probably only room temperature still. Well, it depends on the printer. Like I said, I agree with what Jake from State Farm is saying. You don't want to spray it on the bed of the printer. But like I said, with the Ultimaker, it's all enclosed, so it's not too bad. And again, it depends how good your aim is. I feel like we're talking about a urinal. But yeah. Oh God, yeah, yeah. Stephen G asked about the direct drive. Yeah, I'll be honest. I got the direct drive version of his printhead on the FT5, and I got it with the i3 Mega, and both of them I've thrown away. Okay, I mean they're just cheap knockoffs, and if you want to print flexible, I do a little bit of homework on. The nice thing with the FT6 is that you have the flexibility to put other print heads on there. Okay. Direct drive is going to be better because right now, and let me show you here on the top view, okay? I've got, actually, let me move that camera a little bit. Theodore, you are just everywhere tonight. Okay, let's see if I can get this guy down here. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, let's see. So I got Bowden tubes here and here. So, yeah, so I'm dealing with basically, what's that? I would say that's about 30 inches of Bowden tube right there, okay? And remember, this is 1.75 millimeter filament, okay? So it's pretty thin stuff. The Ultimakers do Bowden, but I mean, they're also 3 millimeters, so the filament is twice as thick. So my thought would be, here we go. I would look into, if you want to print flexibles, definitely do a little bit of homework on the Bondtech BMG. Covered in hairspray. There you go. Yeah. Blue tape is okay. Yeah. One of the things, if the blue tape is too hard to remove stuff, remember that the blue tape has a. Well, actually, there's a couple of things you could do. Do I have it right here in front of me? You could try frog tape, which is a little bit easier, but frog tape is more expensive. The blue tape has like a waxy surface, okay? And if you're having a hard time getting your print off of the blue tape, don't do what I'm going to suggest, okay? If it's not staying on the blue tape, do this. Take rubbing alcohol and wipe the top of the blue tape. That will remove some of that waxiness of the top of the tape. But let me get back to the FT6 and direct drive and flexibles question. If I was I haven't printed a lot of flexible stuff. I have no use for it. But I have done Cheetah, which is kind of a medium hardness. It's good for like little tires for RC or for BB-8 stuff. So if I was in the market to do flexible filament on the FT6, I would probably go with his drive, and you could certainly try it out. But again, knowing that it's a cheap Mark 9, whatever, MK9, I would definitely look into the Bondtech BMG is kind of like the Cadillac of the direct drive systems. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is that as far as there are some interesting combinations that you can run with the Bondtech BMG. Before I mention them, there are, of course, clones. I am not a fan of clones whatsoever. I think that if this guy came up with the dual gear mesh, whatever, he deserves every cent. If he's open source, well, bless his heart. I'm still going to want to give him the money. Yeah, I'll pay more money, but I would much rather support his development into improving the product. That's just my attitude. There are some people where it's like, no, I'll get it from China. I'll pay $3 shipping, and I'll get it in 3 months. But it'll be absolutely super, super cheap and a complete knockoff of the real version. Okay, your mileage may vary, but whatever. But when they complain, I just want to be there to say, told you so. So anyway, the Bondtech BMG. That would be probably my choice for the direct drive for doing flexible filament. I would also look into, it's called Slice, and they make the Mosquito hot end. Super light hot end. It's newer, and it's very, very, very light. And I want to say I've seen with Matter Hackers, and I've seen with PrintedSolid.com and others. Sorry, I saw Caleb taunting me again here. Something about he's buying me Caleb had mentioned he's going to buy me a Prusa. I don't know. So anyway, I saw something shiny. Caleb made me go off topic. But those mosquitoes look really, really interesting. So sorry I kind of got distracted a little bit. But those were, I would check on YouTube for some videos. I would love to have one. If I could get one inexpensively to try it on this printer, I would be happy to blaze that path for you. Unfortunately, the channel doesn't make that much money, so I don't have any money to get one of those for you. So, but that, like I said, if I was in your position, I wanted a large printer that could print flexible stuff, I would look really hard at the Bondtech BMG. I would look at the Slice Mosquito, and I've seen them on Matter Hacker. I just saw an ad or a flyer came through the Where Nerdy is Cool email the other night, where they're offering combos. I think Printed Solid is too, but for whatever reason, I've been on Amazon a lot lately, so they might have them there too. Let's see. You know, it's interesting, Kale, I just saw your comment here. The Prusa, yeah, they have their new machine. Actually, they have the SLs. Those look interesting, but I don't. The only time I would really want to have one of those SLA laser resin printers, especially is part cooling fan nozzles and stuff like that, very intricate nozzle stuff. I would love to have them for that because, you know, you're trying to get these intricate shapes here, and with an FDM printer, there's a lot of work to get this to come out as well as it did. This is using the high temperature ColorFab engine, so with any luck, this is not going to deform or melt near the hot end. It better not. It took a long time to dial that in. Yeah. So so I hope I answered that question. I hope I made it clear as mud for you. Because that's something I've been looking at too. Because when I hooked up both of these extruders on this printer, I would like to print with dual hot ends. I don't care for this Y adapter technology of going back and forth between, you know, different colors of the same filament. To me, I would much rather print with two different nozzles so that if I want to do support material out of PVA, which is the polyvinyl alcohol. What? Oh, they're playing. The, you know, just basically, essentially, just like the Ultimaker 3 is set up. The Ultimaker 3, the Ultimaker S5, to me, they do it perfectly. I mean, they do it right. And of course, for $4,500, they're gonna. So they have a neat tech where it'll do a certain thing, and then it goes over, it slides, and it raises one nozzle, it lowers the other one, and then it primes, and then it goes over and does whatever the second nozzle has assigned to it. It's very slick. It takes a long time for prints to be completed because that's a lot of additional work for the print head. But if you're looking to do those things, the Ultimaker 3 does it really, really nicely. As for the Prusa, yeah, I had a gentleman last night that reached out to me last night saying, hey, look, Paul, got a question. I'm new to 3D printing, really interested. I'm an older guy. He mentioned he was in his late 60s. He goes, I'm not sure I have the tolerance for a kit, but if you had $1,000 and you had to pick one printer that was pre-assembled and you think is kind of worth the money and a lot of fun for a beginner, what would you get? And I said, go to Prusa, go get the i3 Mark III, blah, blah, blah. It's $9.99. It's going to take 6 or 7 weeks to show up. It'll be pre-assembled. But quite frankly, Prusa is the leader in this 3D printing industry right now. I mean, whatever he comes out with, everyone else kind of follows along. And so that was my advice. So there you go, Caleb. You'd be proud to know that. I think it's the S, right? Yeah, Mark 3S, yeah. And that's my only pet peeve with the Prusas is that, you know, if you do buy one, you go into a waiting line, and then by the time you receive yours 3 months later, they're introducing, ta-da, we now have the Mark IV or whatever. I do have a spare set of R2-D2 skin. Essentially, I have spare parts for everything with R2-D2. So what you are seeing is, yeah, the second pair of aluminum skins, so that if I decide that I want to remove the ones that I have on there now, I have a spare set that I can button up and place on there. The only thing I need to do is there's a few 3D printed detail pieces I got to put on there. You know, it's interesting with my current R2-D2, and everyone comments, I mean, geez, everyone's always saying, God, look at him. He looks so great. He's awesome. You know, why would you want to touch that? And it's like, well, there's a lot of scratches and dents and things I want to fix, but people keep saying, no, 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 no. He looks perfect. And Colin said the same thing. You know, the guy that, you know, made the models for the friggin' movies. He's like, no, don't touch a thing. He goes, if you have any spots that are, you know, steel or stuff that have corrosion that needs to be addressed, absolutely. You know, sand it, clear coat it, whatever. But, you know, that was the big thing about the models they made, is they wanted their models to look like they were worn down and beat up from, you know, that kind of universe. So part of me, I see someone with a brand new R2D2 all put together, nice and shiny, and I'm going, oh, I should totally do that. But if anything, I would like mine to look like it was going through a 4x4 race on Dagobah. I love the idea of the dirty, muddy robot, but mine does a lot of hospital visits, so we wipe it down and disinfect it quite a bit, and we'd be there for a long time trying to figure what's dirt and what's paint. Yeah, yeah. I've never had a Prusa. Like I said, there was one lady at work where her son has one, and she says that he hardly ever uses it now. Yeah, he's like 12 or 13-year-old kid. And I'd mentioned to her, I said, well, if it's just sitting there not getting any use, and I think it's a Mark IIs. I can't remember what the version numbers are. But I saw her at a meeting a few weeks ago, and she's like, oh, you still interested in that? I said, well, if the price was right, let me know. But, you know, I really don't need a 9th 3D printer. But, hey, you know, if the price is right... I keep on leaning on my rolling desk over here. Look, I have 8 thumbs up. That's cool. Very cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so that was all the topics I was going to cover tonight. Like I said, assuming the parts show up, I will do a live stream tomorrow, and we can fight our way through this. But I am expecting a battle with the Bowden system. I mean, that's a long distance. For those Bowden tubes and filament travel. I think we're going to be debating the right location to place the filament rolls. And I don't know, man. I'm still on the fence as far as how to route all of that wiring so that it will go all over the place, you know, and when it travels. I'll give you a thumb. There we go. Cool. I'm up to 9. Awesome sauce. Well, if I didn't mention it already, I thank you guys for being my viewers here. Like I said, we'll hang out for a little bit longer here, but if you're just tuning in and wondering who the heck I am, my name is Paul. This is my channel where nerdy is cool. And as you can see in the description below, there are a couple of discount codes available. So if you do any shopping at Folgertech, if you're interested in an FT6, FT5, or anything he sells, there is a coupon code where nerdy is cool, which will save you 5%. So there you go. That is an affiliate link, so that does help the channel. So, and as you can see, when I get little kickbacks from Amazon or YouTube, I invest them back into the channel, such as the microphone and the better and enhanced camera system we're seeing here. So there we go. There's also in the chat down there, there's a $sign. If you want to make a donation, throw me a couple bucks and say, hey, I like what you're doing. Or, hey, you know, you need a haircut. Whatever, feel free. I appreciate. And Caleb, you're my only Patreon subscriber, so I thank you for what you've been doing. You've been a supporter from the beginning. I picked on you because you were always teasing me about the lack of focus on my inexpensive cameras, and I took it to heart and bought a new camera, and it goes out of focus now at 1080p. So sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. You know, bungees is not a bad idea. And that's one of the things I am debating. Actually, while you said that, you know, I was looking around the house because at the hospital, we always had our badges, you know, they would go over here, and you would bring it out back and forth. And you had like this little reel that would retract back and forth. And I'm thinking something like that would be really handy for hanging some of these Bowden tubes or some other stuff. And quite frankly, you know, I want to get my desk back, so I got to find a new home for this printer. But that's one of the things over here. Oh, the cat. You guys. Let's move it back over here. You can see I got a lot of stuff going on. Here we go. Going on top of that extruder right there. So, yeah. Oh, wow. I still have that Estes model rocket in the background. Woohoo! That, my friends, is called the Astrocam 110. course, you can't find film for that thing anymore, but hey, it'd be fun to open that sucker up there and convert that to like a mini webcam, you know, CMOS screen there and fire that off in the backyard. But that'd be a bad idea because I live at the end of a runway, so... And this morning, first thing this morning, we had 4 F-35 jets fly over. So, yeah, we don't want to mess with those guys. If you have not heard an F-35 jet fighter, they're hard to miss because holy cow! I mean, they were loud. I mean, an F-15 is a loud aircraft to begin with, but these guys, that F-15 seemed like a Cessna compared. It was a great wake-up call. Yeah, I was trying to remember if my thought I had a dun dun dun. Oh, what did I do with it? Trying to find where I placed it, because that would be a fun photograph to share with you guys. Let's see, I'm getting all kinds of here we go. Let's put that over here. And I can share that with you guys over on my other screen here. Okay, I gotta look through the printer here so I can see what's going on. Okay, and let me show you. So there it is. So that's what I woke up to this morning. My friend lives one street away from me, and he's a photographer, and there it is. That's what was streaking over the house this morning. There were 4 of them. They got U.S. marking, so I didn't. I know the last time we had a bunch of these guys fly over, they were. I want to say they were heading either to the Netherlands or to Belgium. I can't remember, but yeah, they were NATO birds flying from the factory to their new home. Rude way. Well, you know, the joke I make, like I said, I know Caleb is an aviator, well, tanker pilot, so somewhat of an aviator. Sorry, Caleb, couldn't resist. I fly little Cessnas. I got like 290 hours, you know, and little Pipers and Cessnas, and I would much rather be flying stuff like that. And so I think essentially they just go buzzing over my house, and just kind of go neener, neener, neener. But no, an F-117 landed in Kuwait. Yeah, I had seen video where a couple of those Nighthawks were still active and still flying around. So that's interesting. So yeah, where I live, like I said, I'm across the river from Bangor, and Bangor has a large Air National Guard base. And one of the things that happens over here is that aircraft coming from Europe to the United States will tend to stop over here. We have all the accommodations where they can stop, park, you know, either refuel or rest up and then head out a couple days later. Or opposite, you know, if we have forces that are going overseas, they'll stop over here, tank up, maybe rest up before they make that big trip. So we get all kinds of military pass-through traffic. I mean, we've had everything from, trying to remember what the heck was the one that scared the hell out of me. Oh, we had, I don't know if it was India or Pakistan. Someone had Su-27 flankers. That was kind of neat to see. I was at the end of the runway with the Piper, and I'm watching a bunch of Su-27s come into land. Big airplane. I was surprised. And then we get a lot of UK traffic. We get a lot of the, back when they had them, I want to say they sold them all to the Marine Corps now, but back when the UK had a lot of the Harriers, and of course they just retired the Tornadoes. But we see a lot of the Eurofighters, we see a lot of the Nimrod, we see a lot of the other support aircraft back and forth. See any UFO activity while flying? I don't know. Every time I see something, I kind of lose track of time and my rear end hurts. So, no, as of late, I haven't. There's been a couple of times where we've been flying at night with a friend of mine where we heard on the radio where someone was asking approach saying, hey, you know, I'm seeing some lights over here. Is there anything on radar? And they say, no, there's nothing on radar. And the pilot goes, okay, well, I'm all set. And the ATC guy asked, said, you know, well, do you want to do you want to share with what you're seeing? And he says, not over the radio. So, okay. I'm trying to see the news about the... Well, I'm still waiting for details about the F-117 that landed in Kuwait. He's going to leave us hanging. Okay, that's how he's going to be. Yeah, so what's interesting is when I learned to fly around over here, this airbase, National Guard base, has KC-135s. Northern New York has C-5A Galaxies. They've now upgraded to the C-5M, which has the bigger engines, flat screens, and a lot of glass cockpit improvements. And at the time, the Brunswick Naval Air Station was active, and they had P-3 Orions, the old Lockheed Electras they used for anti-submarine warfare. So taking off in a little rinky-dink Cessna, you would be jumping into air traffic behind a KC-135, a C-5A Galaxy, and usually one or two P-3, anti-submarine aircraft, plus the usual Delta, Comair and FedEx and all the other air traffic coming into this one runway. So it was a unique experience for little old Bangor, Maine, to be exposed to that kind of, radio traffic and air traffic. But the runway over here is 11,200 feet long. It is a former bomber runway from back when they had B-52s here. So it's impressive. V-22s, yeah, we see those guys from time to time. They're very interesting. Let's see. What is it, about 10:30? Well, I'll tell you one more quick story before I get ready to wrap it up here. I think one of the coolest things I've seen in a while was I was flying back from Bar Harbor, which is about 20 miles, well, nautical miles anyway. It's about a 25-minute flight from my airport to there in the 172. And they had advised us that we were coming up across a group of Apache helicopters, co-altitude, and so we were going to be passing them. And the one thing I wasn't prepared for was as we were coming across them, when an Apache looks out their window to look at you, the gun tracks with it. So that was the one thing that we were kind of surprised by. I was flying. I had my friend in the front with me, and of course he's got his phone out. He's taking all kinds of pictures, and he's like, that 30mm cannon is aimed at us. I said, why would that be? So yeah. That was a little surprise. The Apache is a very impressive helicopter, and yeah, it was impressive to see that gun moving around and tracking, as you were flying. I would assume they would have that off, but whatever. Checking the chat buffer real quick. Okay, so Caleb can't find a story, but okay. Oh, here it is. We'll share that with the rest of the group. All right, well, between the furnace firing up every couple of minutes and the cats giving their show. All right, I'll check that article out. So let's see, before I wrap up, I suppose I can share my amazing fun story of the week, and it had nothing to do with 3D printing. I don't know how many of you guys are homeowners. I want to say Caleb is now a new homeowner, having just getting settled into his, I think, Florida home. So I came home on Thursday, and I had noticed on the side of the road they had done some construction, digging something up, and I didn't put two and two together at the time. So I come home from work, I change up, I use the bathroom real quick, take a quick whiz, whatever. Change into my gym clothes, and I go and I hit the plunge on the toilet, and the top of the toilet pops off, and the top of the toilet itself blows up in the air and comes back down and just starts gurgling water like crazy. And it turns out apparently there had been a water main leak, and they had patched it, and of course they had run air through the system. They said they had flushed the system 4 times. This is when I called the water department and said, what the hell's going on? And they said, oh, by the way, we had a massive water leak. We patched it, but we had to clean the system out, and chances are you have a lot of air in your system, and You'll probably have to run your water for 45 minutes to get all the black gunk out. So, yeah. No, I was going to mention about the van getting stuck in the front yard. No. So, yeah, but that wasn't a near-death experience. I mean, come on. Can you imagine? I mean, I even called my neighbor and said, whatever you do, if you're sitting on the porcelain, do not push that handle. You will have a very bad experience. Because, man, I mean, I had water everywhere. And then, of course, there's all that black water. So you're just like, what the heck? But, yes, Caleb, of course, is referring to... I have a Honda Odyssey, which is the Honda minivan that I use for transporting R2-D2. My other vehicle is a Honda Civic. There is no way I can fit R2-D2 in a Honda Civic. And there's no way I'm going to try to take it all apart to the bare components to make it fit. So many years ago when I first started doing this, 10 to be honest, I had purchased a minivan so that I could transport R2 around. And the Honda Odyssey is a very heavy vehicle. It's great on the interstate. Once you get to like 70, 75 and you set the cruise, or if you disengage the cruise, I swear to God, it will maintain speed without touching the gas. It's just that heavy of a vehicle. The only way I can get R2-D2 out of the home is to back to my front door, roll out the folding aluminum ramp, and push them out. Just because of how wide R2-D2 is, 32 inches wide. So on the Friday morning of the show, I looked at the yard and thought, well, it's not too wet yet. It was kind of it was cold overnight. It was below freezing, so I think we got a shot. So backed out real quick, got R2 loaded up. Oh, hello, we gained a subscriber. Oh, look, swimming little doggy. That's cool. So long story short, I backed up, got R2 loaded up. As I was rolling out, I noticed that, this feels pretty squishy. So for the next 2 days, on Saturday and Sunday, it was sunny and 55 degrees. So my thought was, whatever water is there, maybe it's dried up a little bit. No. Started to back up on that front yard, and immediately, as soon as the front tires touched the yard, I just could hear the sinking sound. And I got maybe about 3 feet, and the wheels, I could hear them spinning. Okay, just spinning in place. Like, oh boy. So I stopped. I tried to put it in drive because I had been going backwards. And just throwing mud everywhere. So crap. Got out of the vehicle, saw that the vehicle was probably about 7 inches into the mud. All right. So I step out, I go out, I start unloading things from the van while I'm there. I'm not going anywhere. And by the time I come back, I can see that it's gone down even further. So I call AAA, and well, yeah. So there you go. But the van has always been a fun victim of all my stories because, I tell people, I've been doing this for a while now, and with the R2-D2 visits and all the travel, and most guys when they hit middle age, when they turn 40, okay, there's a lot of guys that will try dating the 20-year-old girl. Chase the hotties. And there's a couple guys there that will try to chase their youth and, get a Harley or get some sort of crotch rocket. Or there's a couple guys that might go get a sports car and try to vroom, vroom, impress the girls. Or there's a guy like me who buys a minivan for his R2-D2. So, but I think in the long run, I made out better. 2794. Yeah, I've lost track of subscribers. So yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping we hit 3,000 here at some point. I don't remember when I hit 2,000. I want to say it was, I'd have to scroll back and look. I remember I did a video on it. But yeah, it's interesting. I know when I was looking at the stats the other night, it looked like there were some days where I'm gaining about, 12 to 15 subscribers a day. That's fine. I have a unique type of content. I do a unique little live stream for 3D printing and cosplay and prop stuff. So I wouldn't expect us to have a huge following, but I do think it's really cool that, the feedback I'm getting from people is that, hey, they like hanging out and chatting with me. They like doing these builds. I don't always have the answers, but a lot of time you guys in the audience do. So it's kind of fun. Great Lakes. No, I can never afford to attend those things. No, between what they charge you to get the celebration, between what Chicago charges you for a hotel, and Chicago having the shooting reputation it has, I would probably want to, be in my armor. But yeah, no, not a celebration. someday. I keep saying that every year. I'm going, well, the next one, maybe the next one, maybe the next one. So, all right, guys. So what is it? 10:30. So what I'm going to do is be expecting, if you're hanging out tomorrow, I'll probably throw on a live stream. And if any of you guys are potentially interested in the FT6, and if you want to see me messing with it, building it some more, do check out the videos. Like I said, I got a whole bunch of videos there on the FT6 build about what I've done and how I've got to where I'm at right now. So check those out. If you have questions, leave comments in those videos. I'll be happy to respond to them. It's not a big secret how to reach me. Like I said, Where Nerdy is Cool has a page on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, and what is it? Where Nerdy Cool. I think I truncated it on Twitter. Not a big Twitter user, but like I said, I scroll through there every now and then. Orlando, yeah. I won't be going to Orlando during the summertime. Yeah, I went to Texas during the summertime for my little fun with the Air Force, and yeah, I'm gonna pass on going south during the summer months. So that's it. I thank you guys for watching. What I'm gonna do now is I am going to cut you loose so you can have your evening back. If you're like me, you've probably been watching a bunch of reruns on HBO, getting up to date, because Game of Thrones is back Sunday night at 9 p.m. So looking forward to seeing that. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, so I am eager to see how the story develops. So there it is. 4 years, very good. All right, well, I think this evening what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the 3D printers a rest for tonight. I'm going to go jump into some other ones. And then I think I hear my Oculus Rift calling me. Maybe it's time to jump in one of my DCS World aircrafts. I don't know if I'm going to fly the F5 or the Harrier, but I haven't flown in a week, so it's time to go have some fun with my my wingman and do that for a while. So thanks for watching. If you're not a subscriber already, hit the button. Go ahead and become one. Make sure, if you haven't already, give me a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and you want to sponsor my efforts, there is a link down below where you can click, and right through PayPal you can make a donation, and I very much thank you if you decide to do that. So there it is, guys. Look for a live stream over the weekend. We'll do some more printer work, and I wish you guys a great evening. And don't worry, I'm not going to forget. This is where nerdy is cool. Stay nerdy, guys. Have a great night.